And the dance well underway inside the entry box, Ken.
That is exactly correct. And Artemis turns back at about 1:10. Now it's where do they want to be? You will see one boat typically push the other boat, start pushing them toward the line, trying to get them early. There's the foiling, there's not foiling, there's slowing up, there's speeding down, there's lay lines, there's boundaries, there's all kinds of stuff out there to either mess up or succeed at. All while going 35 knots, by the way. Easy.
Well, it is not for the faint-hearted, and as you can tell from these pictures, there is very little separating these two right now, both trying to get their timing bang on.
And Artemis is down on the lay line, so it's very doubtful that Dean Barker will do anything but what's called gap off. He's going to try to stay well up to weather of Artemis Racing and accelerate earlier than they're able to accelerate on the Swedish boat. Let's see if he can make it work. See that little runway? Off they go.
Well, the timing immaculate, and the Japanese firing through the blocks ahead of the Swedes. Straight up on the fours, both of them, and steaming along, reaching for Mach 1.
Yeah, that was the typical gap. It's called the gapping maneuver in that pre-start. They had enough of a runway to the high side, away from the Swedes, that they were able to pull the trigger a little bit early and just get a little better running start. And it looks like they're going to be first into this first mark.
So the Japanese and Dean Barker, who have been based out here, both crews in fact based out here for some time now, the benefit of plenty of local knowledge, but the Japanese out in front of the Swedes at the moment as they round the mark and head downwind for the first time.
These should be two very polished teams. I would be very surprised if one of these teams really took off on the other right now. From what we've seen in all the practice racing, and remember, they've had months of practice racing, these two teams are as solid as any here.
Just look at the height. Look how far out of the water Artemis Racing is. The Swedes at the moment looking a little bit shaky, Ken.
Slightly unstable there, not their best jibe for sure, but you notice they barely touched the water with that leeward hull. So even though it was quite an unstable jibe, they're still right in the hunt.
On board the Japanese boat.
On board the Japanese boat, you see Dean Barker in the back of the boat gripping. They're actually hand grips. He's actually, we believe, controlling the fore and aft rake of the dagger boards himself with controls on the steering wheel. There he is right there. You can just see his grips right in that area right there. I got my new toy. Seems like everything I draw looks like a dog biscuit at this stage, but I'll get better at it, I promise, Abby.
As long as it's just the dog biscuits, we're happy. So Artemis Racing, the Swedish outfit, already playing catch-up to some degree, but now bearing away, looking to steer a slightly different path.
As we go through this month of racing, what will be really interesting, in San Francisco, we saw more passes than we've ever seen in Cup history. And it'll just be really interesting to see on these 18-minute, very short courses, how dominant being first to the weather mark is.
Pace is right up there, isn't it? And they are matching each other, not for not. Able to give you pretty much all angles, all bases covered.
Let's go out to Joey. What do you think? You mentioned before. Can you explain a little more to the folks at home for the first time, viewing for the first time, your light air foils versus heavy air foils? What are you referencing?
Okay, Ken. Well, the boats you're allowed 4 sets of foils. So what most of the teams have done have gone for 1 set of light air foils, which are bigger, and 1 set of heavy air foils, which are smaller. The heavy air foils let you go faster and have less drag, but you don't get the same amount of lift in light air. So it's very much like an F1 car. You can have big aerofoils and have heaps of downforce, but less top speed, or you can have great big aerofoils that will help you corner. Less aerofoils will make you faster. So I think that's maybe a little bit of what we're seeing here is the SoftBank Team Japan foils are a little bit better suited to the conditions.
Any idea which foils, either I'm sure at this stage, teams know exactly what the other foils look like. Any idea which boards these guys might have, these two teams?
It looks to me like Team Japan have their high-speed foils in, and Artemis might have their light air foils in, or their low-speed foils. So that might be part of what we're seeing now.
Actually seeing this foiling tack technology here, and this actually makes sense with what Joey said, that they're actually in a bit of a tacking duel. This is something we never saw before. The tacking has become so much more efficient that the old school match racers say, oh, you can't match race these things anymore. This is actually a bit of an old school tacking duel right now.
And the Japanese boat, we understand the first to master that foiling tack here in Bermuda, really setting the agenda, setting the pace, and everybody else having to try to work it out for themselves. They're the ones who mastered it the first time.
You see the rake. Oh, look at the rake change on that dagger board, the in-out. It's unbelievable what they've learned how to do with these things. This is not simply just throw a board out and spin it into a tack. It's unbelievable, the functionality. This is a real tacking duel going on between these two heavyweights. Very impressive. We hope this would happen, and sure enough, here we go.
How much at this stage of the race, Ken, as well, is the one looking to try to mess up the tactics of the other? How much can they try to steal their air, give them some kind of dirty air? Is that a factor right now?
Well, it looks to be more so than we've ever really seen in the catamaran match racing. During the World Series events, even during the last America's Cup, it was about current, it was about where they were positioned in the race course, and a lot of what we call wall-to-wall, all the way out to the boundary, to the other boundary. This, all of a sudden, they're tacking up the middle. They're actually tacking on the other guy and trying to take his air, trying to have disturbed air come off the back of the wing that would affect Artemis.
I will.
And you described it, match racing as hand-to-hand combat. And that is pretty much what's going on out there. There's Ian Percy, the Swedish team manager and tactician as well. But look, he's having to dig deep and get heavily involved in the grinding. Gold medalist, of course, in Beijing in 2008 and in Sydney 2000.
Not a lot of tactics going on with Ian Percy right there. You can also make a claim that the helmsmen or the drivers they have more to do than in the history of sailing, with all the buttons and the throttles and the this and the that, and they have to be tacticians at the same time.
So around the gate, the Japanese looking in fine fettle. And time running out for the Swedes to try to chase them down. It does seem that if you get some kind of meaningful lead on these courses, it really can prove the difference early on.
We have to make, at this stage, these guys, I mean, here it is, the first race of their entire event. You got to, this is a standard boat race. You got to let the other guy has to make a mistake, and these top teams are practiced enough that it's pretty rare that we're seeing a mistake out there.
Not the cleanest of maneuvers from the Swedes.
That is exactly correct. You really saw that both the Japanese and the Swedish, they were different. The Japanese probably gained maybe 30, 40 meters on that jibe, just with a little bit of instability on the Swedish boat.
Chipping away at me, guys.
Nathan?
Yeah.
In this righty, it's quite left-hand mark bias. I'd like to do one in and then kiwi left.
Okay.
Assuming they don't.
Yeah, no, understood.
An interesting marriage there between the Japanese and British teams. Powering the hydraulic systems. It's a whole new game. The wing trimmer and the driver are the only two people that aren't great. You see hand grips back there. Also, he's not technically using them, but there looks to be hand grips on that wheel as well. Remember, every day these boats come out, they're coming out with innovation. The day that a boat stops innovating will be the day that everybody blows right by them. So there are going to be good days and bad days for everybody. You notice this morning they were out 3 hours early, came out, tried some things, and went back into the dock, and you never see that.
20 seconds, guys.
Day for the sunglasses, a day for the sun cream, not for this lot. They're busy at work.
15, only 20 seconds sailing on the new drive.
The voice of Chris Draper. Now, this is interesting where the tactician is also the wing trimmer, so Chris can actually look around and be a bit more help. I think the guys that are the tacticians that are grinding all the time, they're going to struggle to really be able to give a ton of input to the driver. The driver's going to be much more on their own in that situation.
So the Japanese heading for the gate, and they will turn upwind for the final time in the race.
Hit it, boys, hit it.
I mean, just perfect. I mean, that was just literally perfect. It's first race in the regatta. This is a tough move. That last second jibe to try to split and go the other way. Looks like they pulled it off just fine.
Bye, right.
That was a hard move right there.
20 seconds here, big push.
Starting up.
How much can we read into the boat speeds at the moment, Ken? These early exchanges that we're seeing out here on the Great Sound, you so often find that in the America's Cup, one or two boats just comfortably quicker than the rest. Can we read anything into what we've seen in the first race and a half?
Well, I think we'll look at, we have some kind of fun analysis that we're going to be able to do and show people at home. It's hard right now because there's so many maneuvers, there's so many nuances to how these guys are all sailing the boat. So it's hard just to take a snapshot and say, that one's going 26 knots, that one's going 24. We're going to have to analyze the whole race and kind of take a look at more graphically how fast or how slow a boat might be over a period of time.
30 seconds to boundary. Happy anytime, Dino.
So Dean Barker pretty confident at the moment, feeling no doubt reasonably comfortable. The distance is not insurmountable for the Swedes right now, but the way these maneuvers are taking place from the Japanese, it seems they have
That looks good on the boundary.
a very, very slick routine.
They do have a slick routine. You know, it's shifty out there.
The Swedes really beginning to put their foot down on the accelerator here, and they are closing all the time.
They're a tack behind, though. They're still going to have to tack, and when they tack, they will be well behind. So I'm not fully trusting that target line at this stage.
We go pretty soon, though.
They're not going slow, though. Joey, have we had a bit of a right-hand shift out there?
Yeah, Ken, I think we have, and that's why we saw Japan tack a little bit before boundary and get up on top of Artemis there. But I think most of this race we've seen has been the differences have been the manoeuvres, and Japan's just looked that little bit tidier at times downwind, I think.
You might be able to luff him here. Might be able to luff him.
Attack from the Swedes, and Japanese turning in close proximity. These two bearing down on each other.
This is an overlap situation, and Japan's going to have to stay clear. And they tack away. Wow, that just happened really fast. Artemis is protesting. SoftBank Team Japan. Let's see, they came off their foils and literally lost 100 meters in a matter of seconds. Incredible. We were just telling you, there's no way they could lose this thing.
I will. There's a bit of a lockdown here.
So, no penalty.
Currently doing it in one.
Confirming as much, and so battle is rejoined.
Boy, did that happen fast. This whole sequence happened unbelievably fast. SoftBank was absolutely in control, got slightly out of phase on the wind shift, and then fell off their foils on one tack, on a covering tack. They were covering them, and they had to tack away to avoid a foul, and all of a sudden Artemis is in control. Welcome to the modern day America's Cup. Unbelievable how quickly that changed.
So the Swedes now setting the pace, and the dynamic of the race has shifted entirely. But you said this was going to be tight, Ken. These two crews, they know each other very well. They've been practice racing for the last few months out here. There won't be too many secrets between the two. They will have been busy spying on each other at various different moments, no doubt. That's all part of the game.
Absolutely. Here it is. Artemis comes ripping in from behind and then luffs, goes head to wind. The boat to leeward. The boat on the downwind side, which is Artemis Racing, can go head to wind if they want to there, but Dean Barker did the right thing. He avoided the collision and just rolled the boat into attack and avoid no harm, no foul. That's what our chief umpire said. And off we go. But control goes to Artemis. Incredible change of events.
Flywheel. Big push.
So it is tight as we head to the next gate. Nathan Aldridge in charge of this Swedish outfit. Raced with them 4 years ago in San Francisco, and made the comment in advance of the qualifiers here in Bermuda in the America's Cup. You've got to go big or go home. He's going big this afternoon.
I'm still stunned how. This says a lot to our next month. Nobody's out of a game, any of these games at this stage. I mean, SoftBank Team Japan was completely in control of this race, and a couple small errors went very badly on them in a very short period of time.
Well, Dean Barker is a very phlegmatic, calm, assured presence. He's been there, done it. He's seen a lot, and of course suffered the heartache 4 years ago. He will know there are plenty of twists and turns to come before anything is decided out here, but it looks as if the Swedes have stolen a march.
You're going to have to make a mistake at this stage. This is where you're hoping.
2 maneuvers.
You're hoping your buddy out there in the race course just simply makes a mistake, because if Artemis doesn't make a mistake at this stage, there's nothing the Japanese are going to do about it. They haven't shown that they've been going significantly faster. They're certainly not going slower, but they haven't gone significantly faster.
And they're opening up a decent lead now, the Swedish team.
2 drives, boys. Get the 70. Yeah, you go. Good.
Interesting, really, that through the course of the Louis Vuitton America's Cup World Series, they were pretty inconsistent, weren't they? They had 3 regatta wins, they had 4 last-place finishes, so they were either wholeheartedly up or wholeheartedly down. But now they just seem to be ironing out all those creases.
Yeah, they've been here for a while. They've had a multi-boat program. They've had all the toys to try to make this thing work, and it looks like they've got things fairly sorted, even with a subpar start. Here they are right back in the lead.
Round the final gate. They are tearing away. What a start, what a turnaround for Nathan Aldridge and his Swedish team. They looked like they were out of it. And SoftBank Team Japan seem to have all the aces up their sleeve.
It was interesting, as they approached that gate, Ali, you heard Ian Percy say, 2 more jives to go, let's get to 70. I think he's talking about pressure. Joey Newton out in the race course, is that what he's talking about? They got to get the hydraulic pressure up to a point, knowing that they have to do 2 maneuvers?
I'd say that'd be right, Ken. Yeah, he'd be talking about the amount of hydraulic pressure that they have stored in one of their accumulators, and they'd know how much oil they use in each one, so they'd know if they didn't get to a certain point, they flat out weren't going to do the manoeuvre, and that really made the turning point of the race, being able to pull off that super hard manoeuvre at the bottom and get a bit of a split going.
This guy's ripping toward the finish right now. 37, 38, 39 knots, screaming right at us, right at our booth. Please, fellas, put the brakes on quick enough.
I don't think that is their primary concern. They are just concerned about making sure they stretch as far away as possible from the Japanese. A fabulous effort from the Swedish team.
That was recollection.
Nathan Outridge at the helm. It has been a fascinating duel.
Fitness. That was fitness.
Hand-to-hand combat indeed, and at one moment it looked very much as if they might get involved in actual combat with the two boats coming together, but it is Sweden who crossed the line first, and Outridge and Percy, big beaming smiles across their faces. For Dean Barker, disappointment in their first outing on the Great Sound in Bermuda.
Yep, Dennis is coming. Just keep the boat still here, guys. While get a chase boat alongside.
So victory for perhaps the most improved team of all of the six, and this is how it shook out.